Recent attacks on Kiev and all over Ukraine. Russia killed and burned. We talk about brutal drone and ballistic missile attacks on Ukraine over nights of 18th and 19th January. And what was the reason for that? And there was one, trust me. Another topic, Germany may consider sending peacekeeping troops to Ukraine. Or not. All that and some more we talk over in a Blitz interview with Serhiy Sumlenny, a great analyst and a writer who explains who is who in today's Germany and what that means for Ukraine. It means. Good afternoon, my name is Henry Keane and we are UATV English, an English-speaking Ukrainian state media in constant persuasion to deliver hard truth in easy terms for you, for the whole free world, directly from Ukraine. Russia attacked Ukraine's capital with a barrage of drones and missiles this week, especially on Friday and Saturday, leaving at least 6 people dead. Russia launched 39 Shahed drones, other decoy drones, and 4 ballistic missiles in the early hours of Saturday morning, according to Ukraine's Air Force, and me, because I heard it. Ukrainian air defense forces shot down 2 missiles and 24 drones. A further 14 decoy drones were lost in location, the statement says. The Kiev City Military Administration said 3 people were killed and 3 more injured in this attack. A 4th victim had been assumed dead, but the administration said later the case has yet to be confirmed. The known victims are men aged 43 and 25, a 41-year-old woman, officials said. The Office of Ukraine's General Prosecutor said in a statement that the casualties included a security guard, a food establishment, and people who were just in a minibus on the street. AP journalists at the scene saw a man lying dead amid the debris and a pool of blood. Water flooded the streets as firefighters put out the blaze from the attack. Windows were broken in the city's Shevchenkivsky district and there was smoke at the entrance of a residential building. A water supply pipeline was also damaged. Of course, the Lukyanivska metro station was closed after the attacks damaged its glass entrance, but was later reopened. Drones and missiles were also shot down across numerous regions in Ukraine, including Poltava, Sumy, Kharkiv, Cherkasy, Chernihiv, Kyiv, Khmelnytsky, Zhytomyr, Kirovohrad, Dnipropetrovsk, Kherson, and Donetsk. 10 people were injured when a Russian missile struck the regional center of Zaporizhia, damaging residential buildings and private vehicles, local governor Ivan Fedorov said. 8 people aged between 28 and 69 were hospitalized, including a 48-year-old woman in a serious condition. I promised you to name a reason for all these brutal attacks. Well, there are 2 of them. First, industrial sites in Russia were set ablaze by Ukrainian strikes. In the Kaluga region, a drone strike sparked a fire in the town of Ludinovo. Government of that city in Russia says residents said on social media that the attack had targeted a local oil depot. A fire was also reported in Tula region. A fuel storage tank had been set alight. Engels Air Base, yes, that one, an oil depot there is probably still beautifully alight, so at least 3 large oil depots set ablaze. And many military objects, S-400 missile radar complex included, were destroyed this week by Ukrainian armed forces. And a second reason comes as a cherry on the top for Russian usurped Tsar. 100 years strategic partnership with the United Kingdom, which the Kremlin, of course, did not like too much and even said something about it, but I didn't listen to what the Kremlin actually said, because what's the point? It will all be about how disappointed a terrorist state of Russia, ruled by indicted thug Putin, is. For not only for the rest of the world not letting Russia kill Ukrainians comfortably, but even daring to help them to successfully fight a second big in the world army for 3 years in a row by now, while the plan was to get Kyiv in 3 days. And now the world is signing a century-long treaties with them. Outrageous, isn't it? And so the Kremlin goes for revenge, killing more civilians in Ukraine. Very Russian way. Germany may be considering deploying its troops in a peacekeeping mission to monitor potential ceasefire in Ukraine. German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius said on January 18th the idea of sending in European peacekeeping force to Ukraine has gained traction in recent months amongst EU countries, and I wonder why is that? Could it be a raging war in the middle of Europe for 3 years in a row by now that Europe hesitates to take seriously enough to end it with a proper military slap in the Putin's indirected face? Well, maybe that, or maybe, but way more maybe, is that it's because the United States President-elect Donald Trump takes office on January 20th, and he said it clearly. Europe has to play a bigger role in what is going on in Europe. When asked if Germany was prepared to deploy troops to Ukraine in the event of ceasefire agreement, Pistorius indicated that Berlin was open to the idea. We're the largest NATO partner in Europe and will obviously have a role to play, Pistorius said in an interview with the German media outlet Süddeutsche Zeitung. The matter will be discussed in due time, Pistorius said, and the United Kingdom and France are reportedly already discussing the possibility of deploying French and British troops to monitor a ceasefire along the front line in Ukraine. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer said on January 16 that he had discussed the option with President Volodymyr Zelensky during their meeting in Kiev. French President Emmanuel Macron, who first floated the idea of European troops in Ukraine, has also been in talks with Zelensky regarding future peacekeepers. Vladimir Zelensky has previously said that Ukraine would only consider foreign peacekeepers if it secures a clear timeline for NATO membership. Other German politicians have also commented on the issue of deploying Bundeswehr troops to Ukraine. Roderich Kiesewetter, a lawmaker from the opposition, Christian Democratic Union, CDU, said on January 3rd that Berlin should not rule out the possibility. Also, Friedrich Merz, the opposition CDU-CSU alliance candidate for chancellor in the upcoming parliamentary elections, said on December 28th that Germany could join a peacekeeping mission in Ukraine, but only with Russia's consent. You wouldn't believe me if I'll tell you how many times I've already heard that outrageous expression, Russia's consent, from very profile political birds, high profile, flying high above the necessity to survive. I wonder if Mr. Merz's property is invaded by Russia. His family members are raped as our Ukrainian women are. Or his children were deported to Russia as 20,000 Ukrainian children were. Or his relatives burnt alive just as these 6 civilians during this very Friday and Saturday in the streets of Kiev and all over Ukraine. Civilians and children die every single day here, so if all that genocide would have happened to Friedrich Merz, how would he be feeling when someone, literally sitting on a Taurus missile that could have prevented all this Russian terror from happening, is instead of giving this Taurus to him, in the name of human values, this someone prefers to talk about so loudly, instead of acting so to stop the terror, this someone is asking a consent from a terrorist that caused it. Just lovely, isn't it? A Russian-born journalist, political scientist, and writer. Today, he's Eastern Europe politics expert, founder of the European Resilience Initiative Center, is with us tonight at UTV English. Sergei Sumleni, hello.
Hello, and thank you for having invited me today.
The pleasure is all mine, as usual. Sergei, you worked in Moscow for leading German TV broadcaster for Sunday ARD. Is ARD broadcasting anything from Moscow these days?
Yes, ARD and German media in general still have their offices in Moscow. They still broadcast from Moscow. Interestingly, journalists also can go to Germany and back to Russia, back and forth. Of course, there is no direct flights, but they go through other destinations, like, let me say, Istanbul in Turkey Air or other airports.
Mm-hmm.
I personally do not understand what is the value of having such reporting from Russia.
Exactly. That was my point.
Yeah,
Excuse me. Yeah, but there's a...
Yeah.
No, this is exactly my point. I mean, what is the value of the information of the journalism there? Because there's obviously a lot of pressure is just put on this publication. It's not ARD that was before the war, and I'm not talking like 10 years ago, isn't it?
Yes, of course. Like I worked at the ARD office in Moscow in 2002 up to until 2005. And already back that time, it was not completely unproblematic to travel through Russia. You could be harassed by FSB, or some of your media
Mm.
requests were denied, etc. But still, like, you could travel, you could interview people. Now I don't see any additional value in having these offices, because it is, first of all, most people who you would talk to are afraid to say anything, even if they want to say something.
Mm.
You cannot travel freely through Russia. You cannot make reports on what is really important. Like, that's why I have not seen like any reports from German media on, for example, on Russian forced conscription or other practices during this war, because, of course, you will get into troubles if you do this. Journalists of Western media who really do some research which can be dangerous for Russia get arrested, and later, half a year, 1 year, maybe exchanged, maybe not. But it is a clear sign that if you try to report on what is really important, you will get punished. So these offices of German media, I'm afraid they remain in Moscow as more or less a tradition and a competition between media, because when one media would say, we close our Moscow office, and it will be immediately criticized in Germany with the argumentation, look, other medias have not done it. Why have you left Moscow? And
Right.
this is a sort of a weird competition under the slogan,
Where
we
it
will
is.
stay in
Mm.
Russia as long as it is possible, as long our offices will not be closed by the
By
Russian
force.
state.
Right.
Yes, and that is what Russian state obviously has not yet as intention to do, but what has already happened, for example, with German political foundations, who also worked in Russia for zero purpose, just to stay there. And one day they have all been closed, and only after that they have left Russia.
Well, maybe that is the point. Maybe IID is waiting for huge fame, filming how they are closed by force by FSB and making a whole lot of story out of this. But the reason I ask that is that I want to talk a little bit about Olaf Scholz. IRD is one story. The other side of the medal, if we can say that, is Scholz with his no way 5% expenses for NATO. Looks not even pro Russian, but more or less strange, even sick, maybe. How popular is Mr. Scholz and his Scholzing amongst Germans, you think, these days?
Well, you can look at the polls and you will find the answer. The SPD has a support rating of about 15%. It is the lowest level in the whole history of the SPD. And Scholz is one of the least popular German politicians, and he is the least popular German chancellor since the
Right.
founding of the Federal Republic of Germany in 1949. Still, he tries to stay on this
Hmm.
platform of appeasement and what he calls Besonnenheit, or an special calm way of seeing things wisely. Why he's doing so? I believe that he thinks that he cannot win, as he thinks, this competition of criticism against Russia, and instead of that, he wants to win a competition of appeasement. There are only two parties in Germany besides the
Right,
SPD and
right.
Social Democrats who are as appeasing to Russia as Scholz is, and both are radical parties. Far
Interesting.
left party BSW and far right party AFD. And I think that Scholz believes that his message can be towards the voters. Look, if you don't want to have radicals being supported by your vote,
Hmm.
but you want to have a sort of peace in Russia, with Russia, of course, on the cost of Ukraine, but we don't care, vote for us, because we are the only party which provides some sort of freedom in this conflict
Right,
scenario.
right.
but we are not far right AFD and we are not far left PSW. So vote for us and you will get a moderate appeaser. I think that is his main idea. And of course, the leadership of his party, if you look at the head, for example, of the faction of the SPD in the Bundestag, Rolf Mützenich,
Hmm.
or if you look at other top politicians from the party, Ralf Stegner or Manuela Schwesig and the others, they are even more pro-Russian than Scholz himself. So you have a very calm and cozy pro-Russian circle on the top of the SPD, and it's also nothing new. Remember the history of the party, like Gerhard Schröder and others,
Right.
our president
Right.
Frank-Walter Steinmeier, who is also a person with direct links to Gazprom. It's not a surprise that the SPD stays for these politics.
So, what should we expect from Friedrich Merz? Who is he, after all?
Well, Friedrich Merz is the leader of the conservative party
Hmm.
CDU, Christian Democratic Union, and most probably the next chancellor of Germany. I do not see personally any reason what and how he can be stopped from getting to this position. Uh, Only if something terrible and unpredictable happens, but I don't see what realistically can stop him from being a chancellor. The question is not if Merz would be a chancellor. The question is which party will his CDU, Christian Democratic Union, take as a coalition partner? And now there are two options only open.
Right.
Taking that the Liberals don't get into the parliament, their rating is until now under 5% barrier. And
Hmm.
even if they pass 5% barrier, it would be extremely hard
Hmm.
for the CDU and the Liberals to get over 50% together. So two options are remain open: an alliance with the Social Democrats, so-called Grand Coalition, what Angela Merkel loved so much 3 times she ruled with the Grand Coalition, or a coalition with the Greens. And here,
Oh,
if we look at the question of security policy and foreign policy, you will see that the Greens are very much comparable to Friedrich Merz on the question of the Russo-Ukrainian war. But the Greens are totally different from the CDU on all other questions of the economic policy, monetary policy, taxation, migration, energy, economy, industry. Everything is just in contradiction with what the CDU wants to achieve. So it would be a very hard coalition. And much more natural partner for the CDU would be the Social Democrats. And the Social Democrats could find the common language with the CDU on all these topics, but
the
the
cost of Ukraine.
Russo-Ukrainian war. In this case, I'm afraid the pro-Russian circle in the CDU, and it exists, and it used to be pretty calm until recently, and now they get their revival, and they demand to find some sort of a deal with Russia. Still, don't forget that CDU is Angela Merkel's party, and Angela Merkel was a person
Not
who
forgetting.
launched Nord Stream 2 project. So I'm afraid that this pro-Russian circle inside of the CDU would find a perfect common language and common ground with the Social Democrats. And that would be actually a very dangerous scenario. And I'm not sure if they won't be able to override pro-Ukrainian position of Chancellor Friedrich
Right.
Merz.
Well, Sergey, as always, an absolutely stunning analysis, a dissection of what's going on in Germany. I love your experience and what you do. And thank you so very much for what you do and for your time today. I would love to talk again about Friedrich Merz, maybe when he wins and what kind of a chancellor he will become. But thank you so very much for your time.
Thank you so much and have a great day.
Have a great day likewise, sir. Thank you. Goodbye. Well, that will be all for today and for this crazy week. Thank you so very much for your precious time with us. My name still is Henry Keane, and we still are UATV English, an English-speaking Ukrainian state media, doing our best to get the hard truth in easy terms for you, for the whole free world, directly from Ukraine. So please like, share, and comment. Your voice matters as it helps Ukrainian voice to be heard globally. Stay safe and tuned for more next week. That means already tomorrow, right? Goodbye.